Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. We got a very serious subject to talk about here today. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, basically just a video where there's a topic that I just talk about. Super exciting stuff, edge of your seat really. But yeah, just basically a fragrance related subject that I talk about and just give my point of view. That's what we're doing today. We're gonna be talking about fragrance people, fragrance reviewers, creators, influencers, whatever you wanna call it, that change their freaking mind. All right, it's disgusting. It makes me want to puke. I can't. Oh God.
I changed a lot.
Yeah, people that will say that they dislike a fragrance or like, and then time goes on and change their tune. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
So we're gonna be talking about that today. We're gonna be going into some detail on that, diving into it, trying to figure out what's going on in the mind of people that do that kind of thing. Ridiculous. Before we dive into that though, how about some codes? Look at these codes. There they are, they're right there. You can use those if you like at those different websites and it will save you a percentage of money. The money doesn't get spent on that order. You get that much off the percentage. It's insane. Okay, so what inspired me to do this, as happens from time to time, I was just hopping around on the old interwebs and I saw it brought up that, this person or that person has a propensity to change their mind on fragrances as time goes on. Maybe dislike something initially, like first impressions, oh, this stuff isn't that good. Then time goes on and suddenly, oh, I like it now. This should not be allowed. This is ridiculous. Now, of course, it's all tongue in cheek. I've done it a whole bunch of times, a mess load of times.
Guilty, 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 guilty!
Both liking something initially and then growing to dislike it and vice versa. So I'm gonna pop a couple of those up here real quick, just as examples. I think the easiest one, the best one is this one, Dior Homme 2020. Now, when this came out, I hated it, okay? I straight up crapped on this. I made a video, like first impressions on this, that was absurdly long. I feel like it was 25 minutes long or something like that. It's stupid, okay? Way too long. Lost in the sauce, okay, for sure. And there were a lot of other fragrance people, whether we're talking about on forums, on websites like Fragrantica or Parfumo or Base Notes, leaving reviews or making threads, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, doesn't matter, okay? Everywhere that there are people that exist that talk about fragrances, whether through pictures, words, videos, whatever, you could find an absurd number of people who were very upset over this release, and I was one of them. Now, in case for some reason you didn't know anything about this with the release and the whole uproar or anything like that, I'll give you a quick Cliff's Notes. Basically, Dior Homme 2020 is a reimagining of what the Dior Homme line is and probably is going to be. So if you go back in the past, of course, Dior Homme was always a line based around iris being the focal point, whether we're talking Dior Homme Intense, the original Dior Homme Sport, which has had a lot of iterations, Dior Homme Parfum. Iris plays a big part. Dior Homme Eau, discontinued, rest in peace. And I probably don't need to tell you this, but as far as people that are really into fragrances goes, the fragrance community, if you want to call it that, Dior Homme, the line, is something that has been held in high regard for a long time. And so Dior basically stepped in and said, you know what? It's not working for us anymore. This iris is not working for us. And here's Dior Homme now. This is your Dior Homme. And this one is not at all related to what came before it. So this is very woody, fresh, spicy, and modern. It's easy to wear, it's classy. It's maybe a little heavy on the ISOE Super, but it is not an iris forward, creamy, rich, semi-sweet fragrance like those that came before it. So of course, with me, I've been a big fan of Dior Homme, the whole line, for many, many years. And so to see that basically get kicked out the door and then replaced with this, I was unhappy because that line is like a monumental line of fragrances. It's just friggin' awesome. And to replace it with this woody, versatile, everyday kind of fragrance, like, come on, what are you doing? you know? So of course, I was unhappy. And when I went into it, it was one of those deals I'm sure a lot of you can relate where you're just setting yourself up to be let down because you're comparing it automatically with what came before and you're not really allowing this to do its own thing. It's kind of similar to how if you're really into a band, you know, a musical act, a group, whatever, or a director, it doesn't really matter. Some form of something that you can consume, whether we're talking, you know, listening or viewing or whatever. So if they have a particular style that you're really into, then that's kind of what you expect. And so if they come out with something new that is something completely different, then you might be a little more hesitant to embrace it and you might kind of bite back when it comes out. So like if a band is known for making a particular type of music and then they're like, hey, we're gonna try something new, something different that's not in this style, this genre that we've done before, then that's probably gonna stick out for a lot of people and they're gonna be like, oh, this stuff sucks. Same thing with directors. It happens fairly often where they come out with a film that does something differently and initially it is panned and people dislike it. But then what happens is as time goes on and there's distance put between the release and or the release date and current time, you can kind of go back and view it through a new lens where you're not kind of worked up by it doing something different, and then you can embrace it for what it is and then truly make up your mind, oh, was I a little harsh on this maybe? Not exactly the same, but kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing. I bring that up because I love the movie. When that movie came out, it was critically panned. Everybody said it was crap, it was no good, it was this, that, the other thing. And then as time went on, everybody went back and viewed it again, and they were like, wait a sec, this is one of the best sci-fi movies, horror movies ever made. I'm not saying that's what this is, but I'm saying similar things happen with other arts, other consumables, whatever you want to put that, or however you want to put that. So yes, when this came out, I hated it. And then as time went on and I wore it more and I kind of let go of the whole this is replacing your own thing and let it stand on its own, I really started to like it. Same thing with this Explorer. When it first came out, I thought it was overpriced, essentially a designer take on a Ventus, kind of a different deal on a Ventus, right? And at the time that I was doing my first impressions on this, that's what I thought. I thought at the price point, because at the time, you gotta remember, it was not available anywhere at discounters and you had to pay a retail price for this. And at that point, it was like, well, why do that? There are so many other Ventus style fragrances out there for much less, you should go for one of those. As time goes on and the price dips down and it starts to be $30 for this, $35 for this, yeah, you kind of need to revisit at that point. And I've started to try to do that as time has gone on with videos, first impressions that I do, where I'll say, you know, at X price point, I wouldn't go for it, whether that's what the price is at the time I'm filming or whatever. But if it gets down within like this range, a lower range, whether we're talking 30, 40, 50, 60, at that point, yeah, it becomes much more interesting. And so with time going on and me wearing this one out and seeing how people reacted to it, and of course you already know it's gonna be really versatile just by smelling the stuff, price point dropping down to like 30, 35 bucks, at that point, yeah, it becomes a really good buy. Or maybe you have the opposite, something like this, Prodalome Water Splash. When I first tried this out, really enjoyed it. Very close to Prodalome Low, but you got 150 mils of it for a pretty good price from discounters around the time that this was available, first being available at discounters. And so I really enjoyed it and got a good amount of use out of it. But then as time went on, it kind of got boring to me. So it's one of those fragrances where you initially really dig it, but then as you wear it more and more, you go, I don't know. It's just, you know, it's not really tickling my funny bone the same way it used to. And so maybe as time goes on, you initially really enjoyed something, but you get tired of it. Get bored of it. So why even bring this stuff up, right? Well, I think that sometimes people will like cling on to the first thing that you say about anything, whether we're talking a fragrance or, like I said, movies, music, whatever. And so when Dior Homme 2020 comes out, or Explorer, and myself or maybe somebody else, again, you can find stuff literally anywhere about fragrances. Like it happens all the time on Fragrantica. You'll see reviews where somebody's written out a huge review about how much they hate a fragrance, how crappy it is, how terrible it is, and then there will be a little edit underneath. Edit. I let this sit for a couple of weeks. I wore it again, and now I think it's amazing. I don't know what happened, but I completely retract everything I said. So sometimes people will hone in on the first thing that somebody says about a fragrance. Again, this is not just me, this is just kind of in general, trying to get everybody to think a little bit more openly about fragrances in general, which I'll kind of wrap this all up in a second to make that point, but sometimes it's easy to see one review, one post, one video, one picture, one short, whatever, and see somebody say, you know, I don't really dig this for XYZ reasons. And then stamp in your mind, okay, they hate that fragrance or whatever, movie, music, from here into eternity. And then later on, when that person or whoever comes out and says, you know, actually I've been wearing it and I think it's better. You know, it's growing on me for these reasons. Sometimes it's like, maybe some people don't want to accept that. You know, you see it and you're like, no sir, it is impossible that you wore that more and you like it now. I don't accept that. There has to be another reason. But what I would tell you guys is whether it's me or another YouTuber, TikToker, Instagrammer, somebody on a forum, somebody on Facebook, whatever, somebody on a blog, if they tell you they dislike something or they like something, that shouldn't affect you, honestly. Like if I tell you Dior Homme sucks and you go to a store and you spray this on and you go, I like it. Hard stop, that's all that matters. If I tell you I like this now and you still think it sucks, that's all that matters. If you don't want to wear it, if it doesn't make you happy, if something comes out, a new fragrance, and every single person on the internet, you know, says that it's amazing and you go smell it and you think, I don't really like it, that's cool. But what I would say is that with fragrances, if you do dislike something when you first try it out, whether we're talking in a store or you own it or you got a sample, do give it just a little time, go back to it. There have been so many fragrances over the years that I have initially disliked or been, you know, not really excited about, you know, tried it on and I'm like, it's okay. And then as time goes on and I've worn it more, it's grown on me. And you kind of know what to expect with the fragrance. You know what's gonna happen in the opening, the mid, the dry down, and as you wear it out and about and you catch whiffs of it, you know, it grows on you. That can happen. It's happened to me, I can't tell you how many times. And it does kind of suck from like reviewer or creator perspective to have a fragrance that you've, you know, put out there that like, I don't really enjoy this one, whether it's a first impression or whatever, and then to have it grow on you and really enjoy it, that sucks, honestly, because at that point you're presented with the choice, two options. You can either double down and keep saying, oh, I do think it sucks, I don't like it for these reasons, when in reality you actually do like it, which means you're lying to your audience, your subscribers, whatever, whether you're on a blog, your readers. That means you're lying to them just so you can kind of like keep this facade of, why, whatever I say is set in stone, I never change. Or you can say, so guys, I said this and I have to take it back because of these reasons and now it's grown on me. And like I said, it kind of sucks to do that because there's always gonna be a little bit of like blowback where that doesn't work for some people, where it's like, no, you're not allowed. But I feel like it's kind of inevitable because again, going back to movies or music or food, if you go back, whatever, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, there's gonna be, you know, some music that the first time I heard it, I thought it sucked. Whether we're talking something more underground or something on the radio, there's been a lot of times I've heard something and I'm like, God, this is awful. And then the 5th or 6th time I hear it, I'm like, that's actually pretty catchy. That's not bad. Same thing with food. You know, you'll have food that's an acquired taste where at first you're, you know, eating it and you go, oh God, this is awful. How can you try this stuff? How can you eat this stuff? And then as time goes on, you grow to enjoy it, you grow to like it. Same thing with movies. So yeah, it's just growth. It's just being a person, I feel like. There's going to be stuff that you like initially and over time you get tired of for one reason or another. Same thing, there's gonna be stuff that you try and at first you maybe even hate. I know a lot of you with like oud fragrances, first time you try those, just awful. And then over time you grow to really love them. So this is just growth. It's just being a person, I feel like. So from my perspective, my point of view, it's very frustrating when that does happen, when you can tell, when you know that you've said something that you didn't like, you know, again, initial impressions or even after a week or two. And then as time goes on, you grow to really appreciate it. That sucks. Well, it doesn't all the way suck because you end up liking something a lot, so that's good. So yeah, from my perspective, that's pretty much how it goes, how everything goes when I'm thinking about this stuff. Again, something like this, to do a 25-minute video about how stupid this is, and then coming to enjoy it, it's not great to have to, every time you talk about this, be like, so I really did hate this, but now I like it for these reasons. But the alternative is just straight up lying. So I'll do the mea culpa, you know? I'll just come out and be like, yeah, I said this and I did think that. I truly felt that with my heart. And if you ask me at the time, I would tell you, no, this stuff is garbage. Get it out of my face. And then, yeah, opinions change. So that is all I wanted to talk about, just kind of rambling a little bit and kind of just putting it out there about that. It would be wonderful to have like a spreadsheet that never changes and just put on there in stone, love it, hate it, like it, neutral, love it, hate it, and just have it never change, but that's just never going to happen. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.